this video, I'm super excited to be sharing a brand new articulation exercise that I sort of discovered while I was working on some tonguing recently that I think will solve the number one most common issue when it comes to articulation on the clarinet. My name is Josh Gu, and I'm taking my years of experience learning, teaching, and performing, and sharing all of my best clarinet and music tips so you can get more out of your practice, and most importantly, have fun. You can learn more about all of my many resources at QuickStartClarinet.com, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell to get notified when I post new videos. So to start, I should mention what the number one most common issue when it comes to articulation on the clarinet is. And in my opinion, the number one problem is that people are not keeping the tongue independent from the sound quality and the tone production. And what I mean by that is that when we start moving our tongue to the reed to articulate, we either move too much of the tongue, so that changes the flow of the air and the air support, or when we hear the sound stopping, we stop the air support because that's only natural and intuitive thing to do. Or as we stop the sound, we kind of tighten up the embouchure to sort of help with stopping the sound. And it's all of those kinds of things where it's not truly independent tongue motion, where because we're tonguing, because the sound is stopping, other variables of playing are changing. And I think the key to really good articulation is that we keep all of the other variables steady, as if we're playing a long tone, while as little of the tongue as possible moves to touch the reed and dampen the vibrations of the reed, while the air continues flowing, the embouchure stays steady, the middle, back of the tongue all stays the same, the throat, the soft palate, all of the variables remain consistent while the tongue is on the reed and just stopping the reed from vibrating. So then when the tongue comes off of the reed, it comes immediately back to its normal playing position, and the air and embouchure and everything is already there to support the quality of sound that we want, so the notes can come out immediately. So that's the problem. There's all kinds of different things that I've tried with students, but this is something that I was doing as I was doing sort of a deep dive on articulation myself, and I sort of came across this exercise, which is somewhat similar to an exercise that I've sort of come up with before, but is a little variation on it that I think is going to make a huge difference. I've never learned this exercise from any teachers in the past or heard of any other teachers using it, so hopefully it's kind of new, and hopefully if you've really struggled with this might be a different angle of looking at it and working on it that might help. So what the exercise is playing a high C, or if you're not comfortable playing a high C, the one just above the staff, whatever highest note you're comfortable playing, or even an open G. We want a note that's pretty susceptible to voicing changes and tongue motion. So if we did this on like a low C, you wouldn't hear the problems that might be arising in this. So either an open G, because that's a pretty flexible note, preferably the high C, or high G to high C. If you're comfortable with those notes, pick one of those. If you're not comfortable with high G to high C, then just an open G would totally work as well. But we want one of those flexible notes. So I'm going to demonstrate it on the high C. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the high C, and then I'm going to move just the tip of my tongue. It's even hard to demonstrate with my fingers, but just the tip of my tongue up and down. And the goal is to be able to move that tip of the tongue as much as I possibly can. So I'm going for as little of the tongue moving, but moving as much distance as possible in my mouth without affecting the sound quality and or the pitch of the high C. So it sounds something like this. I'll sort of show as much as I can sort of what the tip of my tongue is doing. And you can hear a little very subtle changes in the sound with the timbre of the sound and a little bit the pitch as well. Also, every now and then the sound cuts out, and that's actually as I'm bringing my tongue back down, it's just very lightly brushing the reed sometimes. But that's exactly what we want. That's actually good articulation because the sound is really continuous and steady. I'm going to demonstrate that again without the hand showing what I'm doing, but just to give you an idea of sort of what's going on. And if this is the reed in my mouth, I'm getting it actually where the tip of my tongue is actually past the reed and almost all the way down to touching my lips. So that's the range of motion that I'm getting with the tip of my tongue. I bet the first time you try this, you'll find that very difficult to move that much without getting something like this. Where the sound's really changing a lot. That's a sign that you're moving too much of your tongue. So what I would recommend as you're starting to explore this exercise is move very little. So don't try to get all the way past the reed and all the way to your bottom teeth or bottom lip. Try to just move just a tiny bit so that maybe you're normally here, maybe just go down a little bit, up a little bit, and sort of be right in that sort of zone, not moving too much, because the more you move, the more tempting it'll be to move more of your tongue. But as you get more and more comfortable of really isolating just that tiny tip of your tongue, the more you'll be able to move just the tip of your tongue while keeping the sound steady. And that's the whole point of this exercise, is to learn to keep the sound going and keep the sound steady while independently moving your tongue around. So I hope that this exercise is helpful. Again, I haven't even actually taught this to any students yet. I definitely will teach this to my students because I think it's a really good exercise for finding that independent tongue motion. I would love to hear, if you give it a try, how it goes for you in the comments, what kind of issues you're running into, and if this makes a difference in your articulation in the long run. No matter what exercise you do or what you're practicing, the goal is to make sure that your tongue motion is independent from the air and the tone production. When that tongue is independent and you can have freedom of that tip of the tongue going wherever it needs to go, then you can touch it to the reed and bring it off of the reed without changing anything else, so that you have good, consistent, smooth, legato, nice articulation that we're always going for. So hopefully this exercise helps. Let me know. Thanks so much for watching this video. Again, I hope that it actually makes a difference for you, and I look forward to seeing you in another video. And last but not least, a huge heartfelt thank you to the Dennersons. This is like the QuickStart Clarinet family who supports the channel and helps to make everything that I do possible. If you would like to support the channel and get some awesome rewards in return, where we can work one-on-one over video and you can have my full support moving forward on your clarinet journey, then go to quickstartclarinet.com/supporter.